back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Great to have you in the conversation. Going to start with a couple of winnable war moments today. This is just a cool story. The movie The Ten Commandments, this thing was made in 1956. That's 58 years ago, and it is still it is still dominating in the ratings. I mean, it's an indication, I think, that there's more of a hunger for spiritual things than maybe a lot of liberals and maybe even some evangelicals think. It won the Nielsen ratings on Saturday night, 58 years after it was made. It won the Nielsen ratings for adult viewers ages 18 to 49, and for total viewers on Saturday, pulling 5.87 million viewers, beating NBC, beating Fox, and beating CBS. Now, here's another winnable war moment from the Supreme Court in Alabama. It rules that unborn children deserve legal protection. Now, this is a significant story because I want you to keep in the back of your mind as I read you excerpts from this story about RU 486. Got another story in the stack here somewhere about a woman in Italy dying from RU 486. It is an abortion-causing pill. It's not emergency contraception. It's something you take after you've been pregnant for a time, and it will cause a miscarriage. So it's an abortion-causing pill. And we've had at least 15 women now around the world that have died taking RU 486. It's not harmless. It's not benign. There are significant risks associated with it, and it kills the baby. So if a woman takes the RU 486, it's lethal for her baby. It could even be lethal for her. But I want you to think about the baby in the womb of a woman who takes RU 486, which is perfectly legal now in America. Here's the story of Liberty Counsel. Today, in an 8-1 decision authored by Justice Tom Parker, the Alabama Supreme Court held that the word child in Alabama's chemical endangerment statute applies to the born and unborn. So the child in a mother's womb, that is a child. In the case, it involved the conviction of a woman by the name of Sarah Janie Hicks. It involved the conviction following a guilty plea for chemical endangerment of a child. Hicks ingested cocaine while pregnant with JD, those are the pseudonym for her child, which resulted in JD testing positive for cocaine at the time of his birth. Now, she argued that the word child in the chemical endangerment statute did not apply to an unborn child, but the Alabama Supreme Court ruled, quote, the plain meaning of the word child, as that word is used in the chemical endangerment statute, includes an unborn child. They go on to say the state has a legitimate interest in protecting the life of children from the earliest stages of their development and has done so by enacting the chemical endangerment statute. Now, think about the implications here for a minute. Now, here's a woman that probably going to go to prison because she ingested a chemical that endangered the life of her child. He was born with some kind of a cocaine addiction, some kind of problems associated with the cocaine that she had ingested and made its way into his system. Yet, at the same time, RU 486, which is perfectly legal, which you can buy, which a doctor can prescribe, which can be administered, it is fatal. It is lethal. It doesn't just endanger an unborn child, it kills an unborn child. So again, we've just got these strange kind of schizoid things in our law, and that all needs to be cleared up. Now, my column today, but that's a winnable war moment because that represents a significant advance. That's a very, very important decision. The Supreme Court of the state of Alabama, our old friend Judge Roy Moore is no longer the Chief Justice there, but he was he signed on, co-wrote the ruling there, the majority opinion. So that's our winnable war moment for the day. Now, I have a column up at our blog site, rightlyconcerned.com. You might have a little bit of trouble getting there. Our internet has been down. I think we've had some trouble with our servers in Florida, so we're getting that looked at, getting that fixed. So you may not be able to get there. But I was struck by something that hit me yesterday during the program, and that's what I wrote about in my column. And what occurred to me in the middle of the program yesterday, it isn't often that I have one of these kind of moments of, I don't know, elucidation or illumination, or something just dawns, a light bulb goes on. But it occurred to me in the middle of the program yesterday that if a president was systematically setting out to destroy this country, he would do exactly what President Obama is doing. Now, I'm not saying that I know that this is intentional or malicious on the part of the president, or whether it's just stupendous ineptitude. I frankly find it very difficult to believe that this is not entirely deliberate on his part. That's the way it looks to me, but I can't get inside his head, so I don't know for a fact. God alone can read our minds and know our thoughts. But I think any objective observer would look at this from the outside and say, everything he's doing, he has to be doing on purpose. And he knows what he's doing. It's quite intentional on his part. And he has, at some level, he has to be aware of the consequences of these decisions that he's taking. Now, it's three things that he is doing or has done that all are kind of converging at the same time that represent a very dangerous weakening of the United States of America. The first thing that he is doing is weakening the military so it can't defend us against foreign enemies. The second thing he is doing is disarming the National Guard so it cannot defend the states against the federal government. And third, he is federalizing, nationalizing, and militarizing law enforcement by weaponizing bureaucrats. Now realize what you get. If this goes forward, if his plans are completed, if everything that he set in motion reaches its logical conclusion, we're going to be left as a nation that is helpless, that is governed by a tyrant, and has no cultural or moral core. We'd have a country that doesn't even resemble the country that was bequeathed to us by the founding fathers. Now, we talked about this yesterday, but just to review, President Obama has canceled the Tomahawk and Hellfire missile programs, and there is no replacement in the budget, in the plans for the next 10 years. Both of these things are going to be completely out of production, completely out of inventory by 2016. And for another 8 years after that, there will be nothing to replace them. Now, this Tomahawk is the most advanced cruise missile in the world, and it is the secret to the superiority of the United States Navy. So without that Tomahawk missile, the superiority of our own naval power will be severely compromised. Now, the Hellfire is an air-to-surface missile, so you shoot it from helicopters and planes, and it's a deadly anti-tank weapon. So once again, this thing goes, and we don't have the kind of superiority we have now when we have air forces, airships that are dealing with threats on the ground. Here's a guy by the name of Seth Cropsey. He's the director of the Hudson Institute's Center for American Sea Power. And he said this: if someone were trying, in other words, if somebody intentionally set out to reduce the U.S. ability to shape events in the world, he couldn't find a better way than depriving the U.S. fleet of Tomahawks. It's breathtaking. And this has happened almost without any sort of commentary. So this is probably the most time you've spent listening to anybody talk about this, but it is absolute. This guy says it's breathtaking, and he spends his life studying our capacity to wage war on the open sea. Now, President Obama is also going after the Army. He's reducing troop strength to pre-World War II levels. We're going to have a smaller Army than at any time since 1940. You've got open homosexuals serving in the military. They're trying to get women ready for combat, which is ludicrous and foolish. They don't have the upper body strength. They don't have the stamina for that. Blame it on God. He just didn't design them for combat. It's foolish. It's ludicrous. It's a form of lunacy to put women in that position, to expose them to the rigors of combat that they simply were not designed by God for. So this is damaging morale in the military. It's affecting recruitment. I heard Lieutenant General Jerry Boykin on Tony Perkins' program earlier this week or late last week, I forget which. He's saying, look, we now know that this is affecting recruitment. He says, every time I go speak somewhere, I got somebody come up to me with a 16, 17-year-old son asking me if I ought to go into the military, given what it has become today. So it's affecting our recruitment. Now, the second thing he's doing, so he's weakening the military. Then he is disarming the National Guard. Do not forget that these National Guard units are, their commander-in-chief is the governor of their state. So unless they are called up by the commander-in-chief of the United States military to serve in an overseas capacity, their commander-in-chief is the governor of the state. Now, the Constitution gives the president the right to call them up, to mobilize them, and send them on assignment to protect our nation's defense. And they've done that. About 50%, I got the statistics in here somewhere, about a third of the service members who have been deployed in Iraq and Afghanistan since 2001 come from the National Guard or the Reserve. But unless they are called up, they serve under their commander-in-chief, who is the governor of their own state. Now remember, so that they essentially serve as a militia, not the only one, but as a militia. And don't forget what the purpose of the Second Amendment was. A well-regulated militia, if you want to think National Guard, that's fine, being necessary to the security of a free state with a capital S, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So the reason the people have the right to keep and bear arms is they may need to form a militia because that militia will be necessary for the security of a free state, not a free federal government, not a free country, not a free nation, but a free state. State of Texas, the state of Wyoming, the state of Idaho, the state of Mississippi. For those states to be free, they may need a well-regulated militia. And President Obama wants to disarm them. Now, I'll explain when I come back from the break, try to give you a word picture about why I think this is so critical, why I believe President Obama is doing this. I'll finish explaining how he is de-weaponizing the National Guard. Then we'll talk about why I think he's doing it and the implications of that. Stay with us. Focal Point AFR Talk. We'll be right back.